Hi, I'm Whitney.
And I'm Camden. Welcome to Ghosts and Garnets Murder in Idaho.
It's almost December. It's freezing and I don't want to leave my house.
Samesies. It snowed so much up here the last couple days and it's sticking to my feet when I come in the house and when I get in my car. I hate it.
That was the one good thing about COVID, I think.
You didn't have to leave your
is that
house.
I didn't have to leave my house.
Yeah, I know. I'm with you there. I think it created some very bad habits for myself, like being really antisocial.
I know, but it's fun to be antisocial when it's cold.
Well, also, I really like my own company and my family's company, so I'm like fine.
Yeah. Well, this is a perfect story to sit by the fire and listen to if you want to end up throwing yourself in the fire.
Throw yourself in the fire. Yep. Well, you're probably maybe you'll get addicted to fires like apparently this bee was.
Oh God, I didn't even think about that. Yes. Yeah. No, this psycho pyro. I have been living with her in my head for the last, 10-ish days, and I literally have never wanted to punch someone in their smug, stupid face more than I want to punch this woman in her smug, stupid face.
Even more than the Lankfords?
Yes.
We might, how Russ was wondering about your mental health. We might need to get you like a punching bag.
Maybe my usual coping mechanism of napping isn't going to work anymore.
Oh, that might be right.
You guys are all going to want to punch her in the face, too, by the end of this. And when you see her prison pictures, you're going to want to punch her in the face even more because she's so smirky.
Ugh, nobody likes
every picture, she's just smirky, and she has smirky mullet on her head, and I just hate her.
I've seen some pictures of her, but now I'm really excited to see what a smirky mullet looks like.
Well, you'll see it, and you'll go, I know exactly what picture you're talking about. It's a prison dye job.
Well,
in the 90s.
You get to do what you gotta do.
Ugh, gross. Well, in case you didn't read the description in the episode notes, the story we have for you today is the story of antisocial personality disorder poster child and murderer Robin Lee Rowe.
Dun dun dun!
She's a bitch. She's a murderous bitch.
I will agree with you there. She is a murderous bitch.
Yes. Did you see also, I'm wearing one of my 5-year-old scrunchies because I, of course, cannot find a rubber band in this house to save my life, even though I buy them by the hundreds.
Yeah, I feel like I'm hanging out with you again in 1991.
Well, I'm telling you, I think the only thing worse from the 90s than Robin Lee Rowe is a scrunchie. And they're back now, apparently.
Well, I'm going to say that the mom jeans are worse than the scrunch. So, there, I've said it.
That's true. Oh, a mom jean. Stonewash mom jeans.
Did you ever watch that Saturday Night Live, that sketch that they had with the mom jeans? It's running through my mind right now. Love it!
I love it.
If you haven't seen it, go look it up.
Let's post it on our page.
Okay, done.
With the dancing.
I'll find it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, through the cloud. There were clouds.
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Can I avoid talking about this person any longer?
Nope, you might as well get it over with.
All right, everybody. Prepare for a smirky-faced nightmare. In the early morning hours of February 10th, 1992, emergency services responded to a fire at a duplex on Seneca Street in Boise. By the time they arrived, the entire structure was engulfed in flames. They entered the home, going up the stairs, fighting through the smoke and the flames, first finding the body of a young boy in the bedroom at the top of the stairs. They entered another bedroom clearly belonging to a child, but it was empty. At the end of the hall, the firemen found the body of a man lying on his side in the bed and the body of a badly burned little girl on the floor at the end of the bed, her arm outstretched towards the door. They carried the bodies outside and placed them on the front lawn, covering them with tarps. As the crews worked to put out the fire and evacuate neighbors, police worked on blocking off the surrounding streets. An officer noted an approaching car around 5:30 a.m., and as he walked toward the driver's side, he told the woman driving that she couldn't go any further. She identified herself as Robin Rowe and yelled that her house was down the street and her husband and 2 children were inside. He instructed her to park next to the sidewalk. She pulled over, and she, along with her female passenger, started running toward the house. She was caught before she could get too close and taken to sit inside the ambulance. It was at that time that paramedics informed Robin Lee Rowe that her husband and 2 young children had perished in the fire.
So this bitch was born in 1957 in Nashua, New Hampshire, to teen parents Charles and Virginia. Robin was the oldest of 5 children, and the family struggled with money, and her parents' marriage was not a good one. Her father was an alcoholic and was usually unemployed, and this didn't help matters, obviously. Eventually, her parents divorced, and Robin blamed her mom for driving her father away. In 1975, Charles went to prison for murdering an antique dealer during a robbery and was sentenced to life in prison. It's like a whole nother story. Mm-hmm. When she was 14, Robin became pregnant for the first time. She had an abortion. She then ran away with a different boy at the age of 15, but was found and put in juvenile detention. She was pregnant again at the age of 16 and has a son who she named Keith. In 1975, Robin had another baby who she named Christina May. She never disclosed the identity of Christina's father. She did, however, convince 3 different men they were the father so she could get child support.
Then Robin met 17-year-old delinquent Wayne Hamilton, who spent his days setting fires to cars. Fires are going to be a running theme throughout this story. People would hire Wayne and his degenerate friends to torch their cars so they could collect insurance money. Robin thought he was great. Eventually, he was arrested and was given the choice of entering the military or going to prison. Young Wayne chose the military and became a Marine. While he was away at basic training, there was a fire at Robin's apartment. She and her 2 children moved in with her mother and her youngest sister, Terry. At this point, Robin's mom, Virginia, became the primary caretaker of Robin's children, with her youngest sister, Terry, helping out quite a bit. Robin spent most of her time at the neighborhood bars. On the night of January 30th, 1977, baby Christina slept in her Aunt Terry's room. And when Virginia woke up in the morning, she picked Christina up and brought her into Robin's room so Robin could take care of her child while Virginia went to work and Terry went to high school. 2 hours later, Terry was called out of class and was told that Christina had died. Robin told police that she had left her daughter sleeping in the middle of the bed and had gone to the kitchen to get her some milk. She said when she returned, Christina wasn't breathing. The death was listed as sudden infant death syndrome, despite the fact that Christina was outside of the normal age range for SIDS.
This whole story is about Miss Rowe making 1 billion terrible life choices from day uno.
I think the part that's so terrible about it for me is that she just doesn't give a fuck. There is not at one point in this entire story where she gives an actual fuck about anything.
It's true enough. True enough. Well, Wayne was on tour in the Marines and felt bad for Robin and asked her if she wanted to move to Camp Lejeune when he was transferred. Robin said yes, but before this could happen, she was picked up for passing bad checks. Despite her legal issues, in March of 1977, they got married and moved into a mobile home. Several weeks after their wedding, Wayne went to bed early one night and Keith was sleeping. Robin was asleep on the couch. Wayne awoke to a loud bang and his bedroom was on fire. He was able to put out the flames, and when he looked around, he saw that a can of gunpowder had flashed on top of his dresser. There was no investigation into the cause of this fire. A few months later, Wayne came home to an empty house. The next day, Robin shows back up, but is not wearing her wedding ring. She told Wayne she lost it in the backyard and couldn't find it. What Wayne did not know and would not find out for quite some time is that Robin had disappeared because she had been arrested, charged with forgery, and had used her ring for bail money. She's a treat. I can't even believe that this is real. Like, we're only 5 minutes in.
We haven't even scratched the surface, and we've already got, like, multiple fires, a death. We're not even to the story yet.
A missing wedding ring, the forgery. La la la. Eventually, Robin was convicted and sent to the state penitentiary for 4 years. Wayne sent Keith to live with Robin's sister, Terry. On September 8, 1977, Robin sent a letter to the judge asking for work release and used her son's mental health as a reason for her request. She told the judge that her son was struggling without her, and in March 1978, she was released on parole. Wayne divorced her.
It's the smartest thing Wayne ever did.
Well, yeah.
Robin moved in with her sister Terry and Terry's young child. Not long after, Terry woke up to hear children screaming that there was a fire. The fire was blocking all of the exits in the house, and Terry was forced to pick up the children and run through the flames to save them. Investigators found that the cause of the fire was electrical and noted that the smoke alarm had not gone off. It was later, when Terry recalled, that Robin had said to her after the fire, quote, "This is why you should have insurance policies on your kids." In 1980, Robin packed up and moved herself and Keith to California. They lived in a vacant 800 square foot cabin owned by some people that Robin knew. It was in Somerville, which is the middle of nowhere. She did not work and survived on assistance to feed herself and Keith. On June 19th, Robin went to the bar with her 6-year-old child and got home a little after midnight. She put Keith to bed on the enclosed porch of the cabin where he slept. At 1:30 a.m., neighbors woke up to hear Robin pounding on the door and screaming that there was a fire at her cabin. She said her son was trapped in the bathroom, but when her neighbor ran to save him, he could not see him in the bathroom. He then tried the door to the enclosed porch, and this is horrifying, but found it was padlocked from the inside. He went through a window and crawled around on the floor, not being able to see anything because the cabin was filled with smoke, and sort of felt around in the bed for Keith, couldn't find him, and eventually had to leave the cabin because he was dying from the smoke inhalation. Robin told U.S. Forest Service investigators that her cat had woken her up and the fire was already blocking her way to get Keith, which is why she ran to the neighbors. While being treated for her non-existent wounds, Robin decided it was an appropriate time to hit on the ambulance driver. She insisted to anyone that would listen that he had pulled her from the fire and saved her life. Total nonsense, by the way. Wasn't there. He was not there when she got out of the cabin. She created this all in her head. She told everyone he saved her.
It's very romantic. Gross.
Uh-huh.
They found Keith's small body on the floor of the cabin, curled up at the foot of the bed, his small kitten next to him. Fire investigators found the source of the fire to be an electric heater that was found in Keith's room. Around 2 p.m. that day, Robin was questioned by investigators. She said that Keith often played with the heater in his room, because that's a toy that children love to play with. She also stated she did not have life insurance for her son. The detective in charge felt something was off. He could find no concrete evidence of foul play, and Keith's death was listed as accidental. The funeral was held 4 days later. Robin's mom paid for the funeral, and Robin paid $18 to have certified copies of his death certificate sent to her at her mother's home. Why did she need the certified copies of his death certificate? Well, because 1 month before the fire that killed her 6-year-old son, she had bought a $14,000 life insurance policy. She had also added a double indemnity clause for accidental death, which brought her payout to $28,000. How did they not find that?
Remember, she's this single mother living on assistance in this teeny tiny cabin in the middle of nowhere. They probably thought she didn't have the money to be paying for a life insurance policy.
That's true. And I mean, people find ways of getting around things. Anywho, she moved into a new apartment and called the ambulance driver, whose name was Doug, from the night of her son's death and asked him on a date. This whippersnapper said yes.
Oh, Doug.
Idiot.
Doug must be hard the fuck up.
He is an idiot sandwich. She then received the payout and spent $12,000 on a new car and put a down payment on a double wide in Pine Creek. Terry, who is having a difficult time at home, came to visit Robin in California and decided to stay. After a few months of dating, Doug figured out that Robin was actually a lunatic person and ended their relationship. Hooray, Doug. Robin tried all kinds of antics to get him back. She made friends with his coworkers and attempted suicide by taking pills. Interestingly, Doug happened to be working as the ambulance driver when she took all the pills. When he still wouldn't take her back, she told him she was pregnant with twins. Not even one baby. She's so
classic.
Ugh.
Doug, you're never getting away. This is why you don't agree to go on dates with people who say that you rescued them from a fire.
Or who hit on you the night her son dies. Doug is a dumbass.
I'm telling you, this whole story is filled with people who should know better.
But alas, they do not.
Well, at this point, Robin gets her first job in this story as an office clerk. Within weeks of starting, she told coworkers that she was pregnant. Then she told coworkers she had breast cancer. Then the breast cancer miraculously went away, and it turned out she was pregnant with twins. One Monday morning, Robin called into work early to tell her boss that she wouldn't be in because she had given birth to twins over the weekend in San Francisco, and that one had died and one was in the NICU. A week later, she claimed that the other baby had died. Her coworkers became suspicious, finally, and one of them called the hospital in San Francisco, who apparently didn't have HIPAA laws back then, and informed them no twins had been born and that they had never heard of Robin. When confronted with this information, Robin just never came back to work again. In December of 1981, Robin did actually give birth to a boy she named Joshua. She told ambulance driver Doug that he was the father, but she was no longer interested in dating him because she had found a youth working at the convenience store named Steve that she had her eye on. Robin moved him in. So at this time, she was working as a bookkeeper for a craft store, and she was caught embezzling $5,300. When investigators came to look through the trailer, they found an insurance policy for Robin's sister Terry, who was unaware of the policy. Terry, of course, freaked out and confronted Robin, who very calmly told her that the insurance policy was a graduation present for her, as one does.
Oh my god, you didn't get a life insurance policy for graduation? Be serious.
I know. Because of Robin's incarceration for the embezzlement, CPS was called and Joshua was given to a foster family. While out on bail, Robin did try to skip town, but young Steve managed to warn the police and she was promptly brought back to jail. She ended up pleading guilty to grand theft and was sentenced to 3 years, but she only spent 9 months in jail. Her psychological evaluation by a social worker while she was incarcerated noted that she had serious psychopathic tendencies, antisocial behavior, and a myriad of other disorders that would make her a dangerous and unreliable parent to Joshua. When she was released in December of 1983, an independent therapist echoed those concerns. But then a new social worker came in and said Robin was fine. Give her back her kid. So they did. Take this poor baby who has been with this loving couple for the first year of his life and has no idea who Robin is. Rip him out, give him back to this effing lunatic who's already had 2 kids die and has spent the rest of her adult life in the clink for stealing money. And all of these crazy fires keep happening around her.
I wish people could see your hand for crazy fires.
I know. Sometimes I wish that if we taped, though, if we always videoed, I think the entire time we would just be staring at the camera, blinking, like, can you guys believe this?
True enough. All right. So Robin sold her mobile home and moved into a small house, and Joshua was returned to her. Robin got pregnant again and told 3 different men that they were the father. She had a daughter this time named Tabitha, and after the birth she called Steve and demanded child support. When he suggested getting a blood test, she lost her collective shit. Then she tried with another guy named Jim. She had paperwork delivered to Doug demanding support for Joshua. Even though there was never a test done and Doug was not involved in Joshua's life because of some similar physical features, Doug did pay child support. And good old Jim began paying support for Tabitha. In 1985, Robin was living with Joshua in a trailer park in Redding, California. She befriended another single mom in the trailer park named Ruth. They watched each other's kids and played bingo together. They became so close that Ruth even gave Robin keys to her trailer. One night, a fire broke out in Ruth's daughter's room. It was investigated and listed as accidental. A short time later, Ruth learned that a life insurance policy had been taken out on her by Robin. Bank called to tell her all of her accounts had been drained. Ruth called the police and showed them forged checks. She believed that Robin had used her key to enter her trailer, steal checks out of her checkbook, and then had stolen all of her money. Robin was charged with theft and released on bail on April 2nd, 1987.
How did she make bail? Well, she convinced her sister Terry and Terry's new husband to put up the money for her bail, and then she fled the state with her 2 kids. Her car broke down in Nevada, so she bought bus tickets and came to Boise, Idaho. Lucky us. Once arriving, they went to the homeless shelter. She told the people at the YWCA that her husband had abandoned them at a bus station. They felt so bad for her that they helped her find a place to live and helped her get on financial assistance. She also told them she had been in charge of programs in California to help those getting back on their feet. So the YWCA set up a daytime shelter program and put Robin in charge of it.
Stop.
Apparently people don't do reference checks either.
1988 was like the Wild West.
I'm telling you. Good grief. And then Robin met poor Randy Rowe, a man who one of her friends was dating at the time, but Robin decided she liked him and she would have him, so she took him. They got married 2 months later and moved into a duplex in southwest Boise. No, guys, I'm not repeating myself. Soon after, a fire broke out at the office of the YWCA. Investigators found that it was arson, finally, and the total damage was $35,000. Robin claimed that among the things destroyed in the fire that would need to be replaced by insurance money were all of her Christmas gifts that she had gotten for her friends and family. In 1989, Randy was driving his motorcycle and was hit by a car. He sustained a severe head injury, and it took him months to recover. The community helped them with money and clothes, rent, groceries, and toys for the kids. Randy was finally able to come home in February of 1990, but because of the significance of his head injury, he would no longer be able to work. So he took care of the house and the kids while Robin worked and resented him for being injured. At this point, Robin was actually doing well at work, on paper, clearly, because, And they put this woman in charge of the charitable bingo program. Guys. Guys, stop. She met a homeless woman named Joan McHugh, who she befriended. Robin helped Joan and her husband to find housing and a job. They would carpool and socialize, and it grew into what Joan would later describe as a mother-daughter type of relationship. In June, Joan's 30-year-old son, named John Blackwell, moved to Boise, and Robin gave him a job as a bingo runner. Now, I don't know what a bingo runner is. I don't really have any interest in what a bingo runner is. I don't know how much money a bingo runner at a nonprofit charitable foundation would make, but I'm assuming it's not a lot. But maybe John Blackwell didn't care. Maybe there were other perks that we just don't know about yet.
I just can't believe that this bitch got put in charge of two different things. Now, being put in charge of something at a homeless shelter and being put in charge of a bingo game are very different things to be in charge of. But nevertheless, how she got two different people to put her in charge of two different things, I don't even know.
Well, I think it was the same person. I mean, like her boss, probably. It's the same business, essentially.
Oh, I gotcha. She's still at the YWs. Yes.
She is, yes, despite the fire and, being a sociopath.
During this time, it was noted that Robin started purchasing large items for her house and took an expensive trip back east to see her family. While there, she gave each of her family members $100. She told them she had won the lottery. When Joan questioned her about her large purchases and where she was getting the money, she said that she had been using coupons and saving wisely. Joan was not only starting to get suspicious of Robin's spending, she was also noticing that Robin had an unusual interest in her son, John. Ooh, la la la. In January of 1992, Robin began to confide to Joan that Randy had started abusing her. She would show up at the office with bandages on and tell people she had fallen down the stairs. Late one night, Robin called Joan, whispering that Randy was beating her. She swore Joan to secrecy, but then began telling other coworkers that Randy was hitting her. Robin began spending more time at Joan's apartment and would sleep on her downstairs couch by the front door. She said she couldn't go home because Randy was trying to keep her captive in the house. Joan would get frustrated by Robin not involving the authorities. Sensing that Joan was getting suspicious, Robin told her that she had called the police and that they knew what was going on and they weren't doing anything to stop it. By February of 1992, the bingo operation at work was falling apart because Robin had been stealing all of the money and had no way of returning it. Robin told Joan that she had a plan to leave Randy and that she was going to pick the kids up from school and leave. But later that afternoon, Robin returned to Joan's apartment, saying Randy had kidnapped the kids. Robin then went into another room and pretended to call the police. She also said that Randy had destroyed their house in a rage when she wouldn't come home. Strangely, that Sunday, both Tabitha and Randy called to speak to Robin and had totally normal conversations with her. Joan was still confused.
Here's what. Pay a fucking attention, Joan.
Oh my God, get it together!
Come on. Like, I know you better than I probably know anybody else in the world. And if you were behaving this way, I would be like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Why are you being crazy?
Yeah.
Why are you coming in with fake bandages on your head?
I'm like...
Tell me what you're plotting. Like, this is just... Come on, Joan. This lady, clearly lying, clearly crazy, wants to bang your kid. She's sleeping on your couch. She's not sleeping on your couch, Joan. She's sleeping in your son's bed.
Joan needs to find some new friends.
Joan needs to pay attention to what is happening in her house.
She's in denial.
That's what Joan needs to do. All right. At around 4 a.m. the next morning, Robin woke Joan up and told her she had a premonition that there was something terribly wrong at her house. They got into Robin's car and started driving towards Seneca Street. As they got closer to the house, Robin looked down and said the premonition had left her, and it was probably nothing. They could go back to the house. But Joan wanted to check out the house anyway, make sure everything was okay. As they approached the entrance to the neighborhood, they saw flashing lights of emergency vehicles. Robin yelled that her house was on fire, but Joan realized they couldn't see the house, or any flames, or any smoke from where they were. Pay attention, Joan. This is when they're approached by the policeman who instructed them to park by the sidewalk at the beginning of our story. So when Joan and Robin ran up to the house, they were told that Randy and Tabitha, who was 8 years old, and Joshua, who was 10, had been found dead inside the home of carbon monoxide poisoning. Investigators would later conclude that the fire had been intentionally set downstairs with a flammable substance that likely burned slowly before igniting a much hotter burning petroleum product. The circuit breaker for the smoke detector was shut off, and the furnace fan was set to run continuously, feeding the flames and circulating smoke quickly through the home. And they go into it at the trial, and I didn't get into it super deep, but they were able to track the pour marks for the accelerant, and it was all over the downstairs and up the staircase, into her kids' rooms. And
God, it is so hard as a mom to, and I know that we've said it before in another episode, you can't rationalize with crazy, but it is so hard to wrap my brain around doing something like that to your children.
Yeah, I think as parents, and particularly as moms, because we grow these beings in our bodies and we have these crazy instincts to protect them. And the fact that someone could do that, could grow another human person and birth them and raise them for 8 and 10 years, and then just discard them like trash.
Yeah, it's literally like she got pregnant thinking that this was money growing in her tummy.
Yeah, or let's keep Doug around, or let's keep Steve around, or you know what? It's all right if I'm pregs, because 10 years from now, I can start a fire if I'm bored. It is so gross. Makes me so sad. I thank God they died of carbon monoxide poisoning.
Know. Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. You wouldn't want to say it, but.
No, but it is it said that Tabitha was burned the worst out of all of them but she was on the floor. So I think that's why. And apparently, and this is coming from Robin, so who the fuck knows if it's true or not, but apparently Tabitha had a habit of sneaking in their room and going to sleep on the floor by the foot of the bed. It's stuff like this that I just cannot wrap my head around. And it makes me so crazy and so cranky.
It's just heartbreaking to me. It's sickening.
Yeah. No, it's horrifying.
Within days, law enforcement officers learned that Roe had lost 2 other children under suspicious circumstances, and the arson investigation began to focus on her. Randy's friends and family started to call police about their suspicions regarding Robin. Robin came in to speak with the police. Detective Rainey told her about how the fire had started. He led her to believe that there was extensive damage and they didn't have much evidence. She said Randy had messed with the electrical in the house. Because of all of Robin's abuse claims, Joan and others believed initially that Randy had killed himself and the children in the fire because Robin was planning on leaving him. The police told Joan about Robin's past and the insurance policies. Officers obtained a search warrant for the burned Seneca Street residence, Roe's car, her storage unit, and Joan's home. Inside the storage unit, they uncovered evidence that Roe had been embezzling money from the YWCA, where she had recently worked as the manager of the bingo. The bingo shenanigans. Officers also found insurance policies on the lives of Randy, Joshua, and Tabitha that totaled over $275,000. Robin Roe was the beneficiary of these policies, the last of which had been purchased by her only a few weeks before the fire. It soon became apparent that Roe's claims of abuse were either largely or entirely fabricated. For instance, there was no official reports of arrests or charges against Randy, and state welfare agents had never been to the home to give Randy tranquilizing shots after domestic disturbances, as Roe had claimed.
To Joan.
All right.
Yeah.
Investigators later discovered that Roe had started a new sexual relationship with Joe McHugh's adult son, John Blackwell, in the weeks before the fire. Well, well, well. What a tangled web we weave.
You smirky whore.
Who shoots people with tranquilizer guns? I mean, be serious.
Joan, this woman is telling you that Randy is so crazy when he gets in these fits of rage and he's hitting her and she calls 911 and the ambulance comes and shoots him with a tranquilizer dart to get him to calm down, and then nobody's arrested. He's not arrested. The police just don't do anything if they have to take him out with a fucking elephant dart. Like, are you kidding me? Come on. On February 13th, 1992, Robin was arrested and charged with grand theft for stealing from the YWCA. She was not yet charged with any crimes associated with the suspected arson, but she remained incarcerated because she could not post bond on the theft charge. Robin soon began to call Joan from the county jail. During this time, Joan was in contact with Ada County Sheriff's Detective Gary Rainey, and Rainey suggested that she should secretly tape her telephone convos with Roe. She agreed, and the sheriff's office provided the equipment for her to start recording their conversations. On March 18th, Detective Rainey suggested to Joan that she should lie and tell Robin that she woke up early on the morning of the fire and came downstairs and Robin was not on the couch. During that recorded phone call, Robin said she could not remember what she was doing at the time, why she wasn't on the couch. By March 20th, law enforcement officers believed they had sufficient evidence to charge Robin with murder. At about 11 o'clock a.m., a deputy prosecuting attorney signed a criminal complaint charging Roe with 3 counts of murder and presented the complaint to a magistrate judge who issued a warrant for her arrest. At 1 p.m., the sheriff and prosecutors held a joint press conference to announce the filing of these charges. Vaughn Killeen, who was Ada County Sheriff at the time, told the press that he would be charging Roe with arson and homicide. Gary Rainey also added that this was probably the most premeditated in some ways, premeditated for gain murders that he had ever seen.
Robin learned that she was being charged with murder and called Joan at the same time the press conference was happening. Joan repeated the story about not finding Robin on the couch on the night of the fire. This time Robin told her she had been outside speaking with her psychiatrist. In a call later that day, Joan asked Robin about this psychiatrist, but Robin refused to say who it was. Joan finally told Robin that she was working with Detective Rainey, and the phone calls stopped. Robin was officially charged on Monday, March 23rd. She was bound over for trial on 3 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of aggravated arson. She was appointed a public defender. A jury trial was held from late January to early March of 1993, and the jury returned guilty verdicts on all charges. On December 16, 1993, the trial court sentenced Roe to death for the murder convictions and to 20 years fixed for aggravated arson. Judge Alan Schwartzman called her, quote, the embodiment of a cold-blooded, pitiless slayer. She is the sole death row inmate in Pocatello's Women's Correctional Center in Pocatello, Idaho.
And she's appealed a whole bunch over the years. She wants it overturned. She,
Of course she does. So you thought the Langfords, the Langford story was really hard, I think, because both of their names, they were brothers, so they were both Langfords. So, they used their last names instead of their first names, so it was really confusing to get the timeline and everything right because of that. But this one, this story, if I tomorrow came to you and had to have you blind tell me from start to finish every single thing that this crazy lunatic person had done, would you be able to do it without getting confused?
Yes, but only because I have had to go through this timeline every day for the last week. I actually was thinking about, 3 or 4 days into it, I was thinking, this story is so complicated and convoluted and all over the place and all over the country. I worried it was going to be too hard for people to follow. That's how much information is in this. The amount of bullshit she gets away with and the amount of crimes that she commits and doesn't get caught. Even the ones she does get caught, she barely gets in trouble for.
I know. I would pay really good money to be a fly on the wall in a room with her and a psychologist or a social worker or somebody to see what in the actual hell is happening up inside that brain.
She's a sociopath, and the nice PC way that they say sociopath now is antisocial personality disorder. But she really does embody every single aspect of that. And she does not possess the ability to connect with other people in a genuine way. And she does not possess a conscience.
Right. There is no remorse.
She does not feel that emotion.
Right. Which is isn't that crazy? Could you imagine feeling that way? It's so weird.
No.
It's hard for me to grasp, put my mind around just not having that intuition. It's like intuition to feel that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't.
No. And I happen to know a sociopath, and.
Do you now?
I do. And I have wondered how it is possible for someone to just not care what they've done.
Yeah, it is craziness. And that's why all we can do is say what in the actual fuck, because you can't rationalize crazy.
Now, so they still haven't set a date for her execution. I sincerely doubt that they will. Idaho has never executed a woman, ever. And I don't see them doing it, frankly. But there's no date set or anything. Also, I'm tired of talking about the death penalty. Maybe let's stay away from the death penalty for a while. I feel like we're talking about it a lot.
We'll have a good ghost story coming up here in a couple weeks.
All right, so this Idaho is really just my ode to Robin Lee Rowe. We're going to call it narcissistic asshole. So according to the book, Deadly Confident. God, these book names, I just cannot.
Deadly Confidence.
At some point during the sentencing hearing, Robin was allowed to give testimony. And at that time, she admitted to finally regaining memory of the events of February 10th, 1992. She claimed things had been so traumatic that she initially believed she was innocent of the crimes, but that after interviews and hypnosis, she realized she was involved and had just been blocking it out. In the book, she is quoted as saying, "I was at Joan McHugh's house, and I was very agitated and desperate to get out of a bad marriage. I drove to the house that evening. I don't remember times. I think it was 3 o'clock or 3:30 in the morning, something like that. The facts I recall are different from what testimony was presented. The house was not intended to burn down. It was just intended to do some structural damage, enough that we would have to have left. The children and I would go to Joan's, and Randy, I assume, would go to his family. And I felt this was the only way to get him out of my life. After the fire was set, I went back to Joan's house. Idiot!
I can't imagine being the prosecuting attorneys or like the arresting, or the jail wardens. I just feel like I would actually go insane probably having to deal with her.
Joan, I can't remember where I read it, but it was something like Joan had said that yes, her son had slept with Robin, but it was mostly just because Robin wouldn't stop pestering him about it.
Well, I just wonder if Joan's son is like, woo! I really lucked out with that not working out.
Actually, I think he was married too. I'm pretty sure they were both married. Sweet. Yeah. It's not a happy ending story, really.
No, it's not. This is not.
I mean, it's happy that she's in the clink and
100%.
Can't start any more fires.
On death row, thank God. Can't have any more babies.
And she's the only woman there, so there's nobody else in the unit with her.
In Pocatello. God. So that is the story of Robin Lee Rowe. We'd like to thank our new patrons this week, Katie Holleran, Aaron Drinkward, Krista Van Overmeer, and Anne Wood. We hope you enjoyed hanging out with us.
Thank you.
Thank you!
You guys are amazing. If you did enjoy hanging out with us, please like and follow us wherever you listen to your podcasts. If you would like to subscribe to the show, there is a link in the show notes. Subscribers get all kinds of cool things, including a monthly full-length bonus episode. So check it out if you're interested. Please follow us on Instagram at Ghosts and Garnets Podcast, and you can find us on Facebook at Ghosts and Garnets Murder in Idaho.
Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.